Welcome to the SPL Rundown. I'm your host, Apam here with Slainy, the coach of the Solar Scarabs, adapting, who's an SEC player now, but previously a two-time world champ. And of course, we got a polish off content week here with Hayzer, right? Got to come out of the SPL Rundown to finish off your content week here. Stick around a little bit later for my interview with Stuart, the ADC of the Solar Scarabs. And we're going to sort of blaze through the last week here of Phase 2 before moving on to talking more about the playoffs and what we sort of expect these teams to do and how these teams to perform in the playoffs. And I think we'll probably make some picks as well. So we got to start with probably what was the set of the week, the Camelot Kings versus the Jade Dragons. I mean, if you only saw game one, you wouldn't have thought this was, a really good set. I think the Jade Dragons kind of stomped it out in game one, but the Kings, man, they are very resilient. I think they were sort of behind even in game two and were able to sort of make a comeback and then a pretty clean win from them in game three. Ooh, that's a...
Sorry.
It's okay. I got some birds chirping too. What do you guys think about this? The Kings just sort of cementing, they picked up the first seed on their route to the playoffs because of this weekend. Is this sort of them figuring things out a little bit as we are nearing Worlds?
Yeah, I mean, I've been super impressed with them all phase. It's crazy that they're first seed with two players playing from Europe. I mean,
oh yeah,
I don't think they get enough credit for how well they're doing, considering that Dragons did a Dragons in game one. That's what I'm going to call it now, where they crush a game and then they int Phoenix. They just hard inted that solo side Phoenix. It tilts me. I don't know if it tilts you, Slainy, like it does me.
Yeah.
From a coach POV, I imagine Kabam is pulling his hair out watching it, because it does my nutting. They just int through sometimes when they're crushing a game. There's just no patience on Phoenix Sieges, but they still win the game. But I wonder if they'd won that a bit cleaner, if they'd won that game cleanly, they would have gone on to win the set. But the Kings were fantastic in game 2 and 3. Really, really good. Twig, I think, had a good game on the Rat again. We saw more of that over the weekend. But just super impressive from the Kings.
Yeah. I basically, same thing for me. I think it's obviously going to be tilting from that perspective. Sorry about the buzz. They like to talk when I talk. But yeah, Ben played really good. I think just go off what Hayzer said, off like game one, it was obviously Sam just kind of looked like he just turned his brain off and was like, I'm just going to engage. And then Sam obviously had, or Genetics had a really, really sick wall, punish it. But yeah, I think the Kings, like their strong suit is their team play. And I think right now, like all of the top teams just have like the best team play, and they're all kind of doing their own meta. It feels like, which is like pretty interesting to see. I think you can kind of see each teams have their own exact kind of play style. But right now, the top teams are the ones that really just like are on the same page throughout the whole game. And I think it's evident that the Kings are always on the same page, like no matter what they're doing.
Adapting, your thoughts on this set? Kind of an impressive win for the Kings here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's going to be a huge kind of morale boost for them going into the tournament, especially beating Dragons. I feel like that's like, obviously that's going to carry a lot of momentum, and I feel like Twig had a really good set, like one of the best sets for him so far. I think he really stepped it up, and I mean, like the fact that they almost turned around game one is kind of insane too. Like obviously, it was kind of on the back foot of like Sam trolling a bit, but still, like they managed to like draw that game out and like almost turn it around. I mean, I feel like they're just a very good team, and I feel like they're very good at coming up with these, like kind of different drafts, and then they know exactly how they want to execute them, and like they know how, like what macro, like they're very good at the macro and just running the map the way they want to, and basically just really good team play in general. And I hope they can keep it up for the tournament.
Sure. One thing that I sort of didn't realize about Hell is like how great at just sort of baiting things out she is. And I think, that Phoenix push is a great example, but I think there are other parts where, you want to maybe engage on the Hell, who's a little more tanky than you sort of expect her to be, and is able to maybe get out of a lot of CC and things like that. I feel like that's a pretty easy way to, bait some ults, and we saw Sam get baited too. That's something I didn't consider. Is that something that you guys, think about with the Hell? It's a god that sort of lives like can bait themselves out and stay alive pretty well.
With a character like Hell, of course, you have like the cleanse, so you can just like kind of bait like your front line up a bit, and then you just use your cleanse to have them, you just kind of like peel them a bit, and then you just if you live the engage, you probably always gonna win. Like it's so easy once you live through the engage. Say you're like doing an FG dance.
Mm-hmm.
And they try and like engage on you, and they don't manage to get any kills, and you all stay alive. Like suddenly you have such a big upper hand where now the enemy team is probably blocked out. They don't have ultimates, and you just like slowly heal up, and now you're kind of in the driver's seat. And the same thing for like Phoenix Sieges. And like they're just healers are in general are just really oppressive one ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you ever get in a spot where you're winning, which most SPL team always try to do, they try and run the game from as early as possible. They don't want to be like sitting AFK and just waiting to like 20 minutes to start winning the game.
Yeah.
Hell's one of those gods that you like. They'll like win like a tiny fight that in most mages can't really like capitalize off of as hard, and she'll push it like an extra mile. Like you give her like the saying, you give them an inch, they get a mile kind of thing.
Yeah,
Hell's just like one of those gods where it's just like so oppressive, where if they get off to a good start, it's like so hard to come back from, because it's really hard to mess up with Hell once you're ahead, because all you have to do is go in, you can just poke them down a bit and reset, and then full heal back up, and then it's like nothing's happened to you. You don't really have to force much with a Hell. Like she's just super oppressive from ahead, and it's really hard to deal with. But then like it's kind of like what you said, like all it takes is one, she cleanses something big, and it's like completely changing the entire course of the fight, which many other characters probably can't do in the same regard as Hell.
I'm just looking through the picks here. Have we seen any other Hou Yi play this season? It seems like a bit of an odd pick here.
Is it not just a PCAT thing?
Yeah, I think it's just the next thing.
Did Metroid play Danny?
I think it was maybe just him, but he likes the matchup into Ram. I think it's a pretty strong matchup for Hou Yi in the 1v1, which I think is probably why he picks it. Also, he's the ADC with probably the best space control because of his ult. Like a lot of the time, you'll see Hou Yi picked up when you have like a strange mage. In this game, it was Raijin, so it's not really the case. But look at the big circles that they had in game one, right? The area control they had with Yamoji ult, with Hou Yi ult, with Serab ult.
Yeah.
It just lets them control so much space, and I think it's pretty decent into characters like Hell as well. I mean, when you can single target burst people down, that's one thing I was going to say about Hell is, even though she's a tank, you have to kill her, which is really, really annoying. Like you have to kill the Hell. I think in most fights, you can't choose to focus on other people in the fights, otherwise she's going to cleanse them and heal people up instead. And like if you trade 1-for-1 and people get low, if the Hell's still alive, it's a big problem. So I think that's one of the reasons she's so oppressive. Seems to be the word of the day. So oppressive out of the solo lane.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to talk about Hell anymore this episode, because I don't know if there are any healers played in other games here, but it's sort of become a healer meta. It seems kind of like right on time for the yearly Smite meta cycle that we kind of seem to go through every year, right? As we sort of are in the middle of the year, I feel like the healers come on a little bit more. People sort of forget about healers early on for some reason, and then someone's like, "Oh, I'll pick Hell," just like Variety did, like halfway through phase 2, and now everyone's trying to, you either have to counter that or you play healing yourself. Or is that sort of where we are? And do you expect us to, I remember as we got to Worlds last year, it sort of became a pretty heavy dive meta. You sort of feel like that's going to happen here, or is that more dependent on balance changes and item changes and things like that?
I think a lot of it is to do with the meta, actually. I think right now you can kind of see it in like the jungle picks that a lot of the time it's just kill the front line, and Hell's obviously like pretty good at helping peel for that. Like if she's the one at the back line and not having to frontline, she could just cleanse all of the CC coming the supports away. Because right now it's just the supports are just a walking XP camp for everyone. They're always the focus. Yeah. So I think Hell is just like a really good fit for the meta right now, but it's always really hard to tell with her because she'll just always randomly just pop up out of nowhere and just kind of like make everyone's lives miserable until Iris nerf her, and then they kind of forget about her for again, and then they're like, oh wait, she's still just OP because her 2 is broken. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I think a lot of it right now is just meta, and she just fits in pretty well with it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I don't think we're going to see that many other healers. Umoja obviously going to be picked, and Hell going to be picked. But I mean, we saw, I think it was Solar Troll played Afro once before, a little while ago. Look, not bad.
We played it into the Hell specifically.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to see too many other healers other than Hell. I think the solo lane meta suits her really well as well. Like the fact that you can't really play like Warriors, they just kind of suck at the moment because of Vamp Shroud and having double fizz into a Vamp Shroud Guardian or a Vamp Shroud Hell or whatever in the solo lane is so uncomfortable, and it makes it so tough to play on that side of the map. So I think she just suits the meta. I think she got a double buff as well, if I'm not mistaken, before she came back into the meta. I think she did get buffed. So I think it's just a combination of things. The meta suits her. She got buffed. And yeah, I think I don't expect to see like lots of healers, but I expect to see lots of hell.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
I agree. The question for me is just if like anyone's figured out like any good comps against her specifically, you know, because we always do have these cycles, as you say, with like the meta shift, and then because people sometimes just forget, I feel like, what they used to do when like a certain meta happened, because usually like the way it works, like someone comes up with a new meta to counter the current meta, and then you have to like try and figure out like what's the counter to that, or you just have to like match it. And usually there are like strategies to counteract like whatever's going on, but I don't really know. We'll see. I'm really interested to see how highly valued she's gonna be for this tournament, and you know, if like any team's gonna like leave her open as a bait, or if maybe people just like start thinking she's randomly bad or something.
Any final thoughts about this set from you? I think we sort of covered a whole lot of things there. Anything else stand out?
Interesting that the Kings beat them and then they picked them to play them again. So they must be feeling confident.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's something we're getting into later. But spicy.
That is a bit of a Chad move, isn't it?
I would say this set to me personally made me like I always thought Genetics was a beast, but it kind of like showed to me this set that I think he's like the best support in the league right now. I think with like the way that he thinks, like the way that he thinks is just like pretty outstanding. I think like and like if you talk to him, he's just like always thinking about Smite, always trying to innovate. I just think this set really showed to me that he's just an insane player.
Yeah, I put him number one. I put him number one on my tier list as well, and I just I can't. He's going to be unbearable.
Yeah.
If they win this, they can't win. They can't win. I can't deal with him.
Yeah, Zap was not happy that you put him number one either. I remember in the chat he was raging. The Tartarus Titans versus the Oni Warriors. I don't think too much really to say here. It was a 2-0 for the Titans over the Oni Warriors. I think Layer's now sort of the permanent jungle here for the Titans. Looks, I think, pretty good here with this team. Able to control the flow of the game a little bit more, which I think this team really needed. I think he really solidified the 3v3. And Paul seems pretty happy. I know Aggro has released his sort of roster apocalypse video this week as well. And Paul talks a lot about how sort of instantaneously it was just better for him. So seems like a pretty good thing altogether here for the Titans. Any sort of thoughts about this set, or the Titans in general, with Layers becoming the permanent jungler?
I mean, I guess I would probably be a pretty good one to talk on that subject. Obviously, having teamed with Layers and having a lot of the drama surrounding us two specifically, I would say Layers' issues were never like in game. Like for the most part, I mean, depends on how you like view situations. But like Layers was always like a really good mechanical player. But I do worry. I don't know if "worry" is the right word, but like a thought in my head is I don't know how long it will last. There's always like most teams usually have a honeymoon phase when they get new players where things just kind of click and everyone's like willing to work around each other and like kind of forget each other's issues. But I think with Layers, it might be hard, and it's not impossible. They're very well versed players and they know what they're doing. But I wouldn't be surprised if Layers' issues pop up again before Worlds, which is obviously not ideal for them. I think, especially with Layers basically he's being forced to move down. I think like just to have to play in the SPL. Right. I think that's like a big worry. That was one of the worries we had with him when he was on our team. Was like, how is he going to cope? He's never like been alone before. Like, so I think there's like a lot of factors on Layers right now on whether or not this team is going to stay good. I think he is a good enough of a player for that to happen. It's just if he can get through the mental like boundaries or whatever the word is. Like,
sure.
he has a lot of things to work on for this team to stay good, and I hope that they don't just brush their issues under the rug. Otherwise, it might just be another explosion.
Yeah. Either adapting. Any thoughts here on this Titan squad?
Well, I think they definitely are in the like honeymoon phase for now. Like as like most teams tend to get that at the start, and as Slainy is saying, like I don't know how long that's gonna last. For me, like I'm very curious how like if scrims are going well for them, I'm sure the environment's good. But like say I have no insight on like how NA practice is going for anyone or anything.
Right.
But as someone who teamed with at least like Aurora, Benji, and Cyclone last year, I felt like we had like probably the worst team environment I've been on in like in SPL at least. And so like for me, it's and we had like pretty decent to begin with, you know, and then like it kind of
Worse
like goes
than
downhill.
TK with zeros?
Oh, way worse to me. Way worse to
Really?
me. Yeah. I didn't even think that was that bad, to be fair.
Oh.
That was, I mean, that was Zeros and Nils had a lot of drama, really. But yeah, like I feel like if Layers mentality isn't like that easy to like work with, then like I could see them imploding, but maybe they're just gonna do really well, you know. It's gonna be interesting to see, and hopefully like they've sorted out like the poor work environment they seem to have with, because they had that with Scaredy as well. And so hopefully this change somehow, you know, like shifts their kind of like mentality, and they start working well together.
Yeah, are they still down a coach? Do we know if they've picked anybody up as their sixth yet? Because I know Layers was in that coach spot for a week when Sino was trying out, and then it seems like they just don't have a sixth now. Is that right?
Is Sino coaching or?
I
don't
doubt
think
Slainy would
so.
want to. I would assume he probably wants to keep playing in SML at least.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's interesting. But no, when I was doing my power ranking stream today, and I saw that they were, Layers was saying, and Benji was saying in my chat that they were winning like all their scrims. They were just winning everything apparently since they made that change. And I think from the eye test for me, it does seem like going with Layers was the better option over going with Sino, which is not something I expected when, you know, they were talking about it when they tried them out the first week, and then they tried Sino. I was like, Sino's going to be better. He's exactly what that team needs. He's like a leader. I haven't really heard Layers as a leader, but they just look better in that 3v3. They look way better with Layers. Hopefully, like, it's hard to talk about it without, you know, kind of slamming Layers a little bit, but the end of the Scarabs saga obviously didn't paint him in a good light. I don't think anybody thinks it painted him in a good light. Well, maybe some people do, and I think that the twit longer he made was bad. But he's tweeted, I think he tweeted today saying the stuff that was recorded in that video was a month prior. I'm excited to move past this and leave the past in the past on to bigger and better things. So hopefully if he can keep his attitude there and he can stay focused, and maybe this will be a good change for him. Maybe moving will make him more of an empathetic teammate as well. I would hope. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces with this move. I feel like there's a lot of factors that could come in and make it a good move or a bad move. But right now, I'm actually pretty optimistic, and I hope that it can be a good change for him. And I hope that the Titans succeed, because I like watching that team. I think, you know, they're a cool team with a lot of potential, and if they can make things click, then I think they're going to be really fun to watch as the season closes out.
You feel like there's a bit shorter of an expiration date on sort of the honeymoon phase when you pick someone up in the middle of the year rather than when you're like forming the team at the beginning of the year? I know this is like sort of delving really into specifics, but you guys have been on a lot of different teams, made roster changes. You know, you guys have a lot of experiences. I'm just sort of curious.
I feel like with a new team, you don't get a honeymoon phase. At least I don't think so normally. I think with like at the start of the season, it doesn't feel like you get that. It's only with mid-season changes or, you know, anytime changes in your team where you change one piece out, one part or a couple pieces out, where I feel like you get that honeymoon phase. I don't know how Ken and Slainy feel that.
Well, I mean, I would say to begin with, usually like when you start a team, no matter what, I would say people are more considerate of like, people are usually not as like selfish, and people are trying to be like more friendly towards each other and like just work well with each other rather than like, you know, like, and usually like as time goes on, people get more selfish. People want to like, you know, collect more farm for themselves or play more like for themselves than like for the team. But yeah, usually at the start of the year, it's not as much because usually a lot of teams also forming, so you can't really like gauge like oh how well are we kind of doing compared to like how we were doing before. But so for example, when we actually replaced like zeros for row, we even had a honeymoon phase in that team, right? And that was mid-season, and like we went from losing a bunch of scrims, and we would traditionally like really a good scrim team, PK. But then we started like so in the second phase of that year, everything was like going bad, and like yeah, the team morale was down, and then we did that kind of switch, and we just started winning a bunch of scrims, and everyone was kind of like happy to play around each other, and then like you know after some time like people start to go back to kind of like their own ways a bit more, and I don't really know why this happens, but it always seems to happen to like every team. So it just depends on how long it's going, and like if scrims are still going good for them, then I think they'll probably have a good chance of doing really well at this tournament at least.
Yeah, in my opinion, the way honeymoon phases, it's not like just like a random like occurrence that just happens for no reason. I think a lot of it is players or teams like willing to adjust in ways that usually they don't. So let's say I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just going to use an example. Let's say like Layers goes in there and he's like willing to listen to all of the feedback or do things that he wouldn't usually do or play picks that he wouldn't usually want to pick. And it kind of he's just like fitting in with the team. I think that's usually a lot of the reasons that honeymoon phases are a thing, is just like players willing to adapt in ways that usually they wouldn't. And I think usually like after like a month or so, that's when like those players like kind of figure out how they want to do. So like let's say Layers like figures out like he wants to be doing this, and it doesn't like agree with the rest of the team. That's like usually when like the honeymoon phases kind of ends, like when they find their own identity on how they want to play.
Right.
So it just depends on if the team like the Titans, I'll say, it just depends if they're willing to still be open minded about all of the things that they want to be doing, and practice can still stay similar ways where like they're willing to try stuff out and not have like ways that things could implode. But that's why I think like new teams specifically don't really have honeymoon phases, because it's like everyone just figuring out how they want to play as a team kind of thing, rather than one person just having to mesh with four.
Yeah.
I think people are still a bit more malleable though, and show up the scrims on time a bit more and things like that at the start of the phase. That's always nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not scrimming these days, because that is the bane of my life. Just people not showing up on time.
Like the heat rises up and the scrims go down, right? When the summer gets hot.
Yeah, it's just. I used to hate that. I used to finish work and get on for scrims, and then someone would be half an hour late, and I'd be like, I hate you. I wish I would kick you. No,
I heard Oxy is booking quad blocks, or at least he was the past week.
Yeah, I saw that tweet as well. Yeah, so we'll see.
I don't think Steve has the mental for that. He didn't even want to double block. Yeah, agreed.
Let's go to the next set of the week: the Solar Scarabs versus the Valhalla Valkyries. Pretty convincing win for your Bug Boys, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it really means with the phase ending and also the Valks being in their situation, right? But anything interesting pop out to you guys about this set?
Raph played Umoja, right? That was new.
Yeah, Raph did play Umoja. Cool.
Don't know if he's practicing it a lot and trying to get it in there. I think. Did you not say? Yeah, we were streaming together when this was on, weren't we? Kind of. And did you not say that you thought he was going to play Umoja? Yeah, Scarabs versus Valks.
Oh wait, yeah, no, that's right.
We were drinking, man. Scarabs versus Valks on the Friday, and Raph, I think, played Umoja both the games. I mean, he lost, but he looked okay on it.
Yeah, he didn't look too bad. We did have a Stone of Fall sighting. I think this might be the first time we saw it in the SPL. Maybe I think PVM picked it up.
PVM played it before, but we saw it on Emil as well. Emil played it on Emil bought it on Chronos also, which is interesting.
What are your guys' thoughts on this item? I've been building it. I think it's a pretty nice item in support, and even in solo. I feel like you're picking a lot of Guardians in solo. Might as well get the prots, get the mitigations. Is it an item that you guys think is pretty good? It's got 200 health too. I mean, I don't know, pretty good stats on this item.
I mean, it just depends on like the character can utilize it, right? Like I think it makes sense on like characters like Kabrakin because you're just naturally adding auto attacks in there. Like same with Ymir, you know, you're just naturally going to be auto attacking people. But there's like some characters that you don't really care about auto attacking, or like just even getting the passive isn't like that valuable to you, you know, kind of thing. So I think it's just like a niche pick, but like not in like a like usually traditionally when you say niche, it's like usually like kind of like meh. But I actually think like it's a good item when it works, but it's like pretty suboptimal when can't get the full passive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. I think this Umoja Stonefall thing might be... I don't know if it's actually good. Like, do you really auto that much on Umoja? Do you get much value off the passive in the game? I don't really think you do. I think the stats are okay. But yeah, I'm not fully convinced on it, to be honest.
I would never build it, so I don't care. Build it if you want. I do not care.
It's not a jungle item. Who cares?
Yeah.
Is it not? I don't know. Juggles, people would go and take
I
the
don't.
juggles
Not for
now?
me. Not
No?
for me. Not for me. At least not for me.
Like, if you look at it compared to Thebes, like, you look at the stats compared to Thebes,
true.
and you want Thebes 100% of the time.
I don't know. It does have 40 of each protection. It's not that bad.
Thebes has 50, though, plus the aura.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that Thebes is bad, but I don't know. It seems like a fun item. Anything else about this set stand out to you? I think we see Ducky play the Hell in game 2, so maybe something that the Valks are working on, trying to adapt to the healing meta here, or any other interesting things that you guys noticed? Scream played Bastet. I don't know. We can talk about that. Don't really have to. That's
That was,
sort of a classic Scream thing, right?
That was a we kind of just thought we were gonna win anyway, and I was like, "Yo, Scream, can I choose whatever I want?" And he was like, "What are you thinking?" And I said, "Well, Bastet is open," and then he picked Bastet, and then here we are. Well, he was like,
7-0.
Yeah,
That was
Scream
cool.
did go 7-0.
"Yeah,
On the Heim. And I've always said he has a good Heim. I feel vindicated now.
yeah."
Yeah.
Stuart's kind of like it's really weird because like obviously he's gotten soloed a lot, but like he's I think he just doesn't really know when he should be going in a laning phase yet, because like it's such a different beast like playing an SPL even compared to scrims. Just like the way people play is like completely different, and I think he just hasn't really like learned when he can go in and when he can go out. But like that's kind of the good thing. We were in phase 2, like when the games didn't really matter. Like we have like these opportunities to be able to like for him to learn that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I obviously have loads of confidence in my players, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot more like kind of those kind of performances from Stuart. He's just like that kind of player, like where he like will get like a lot of momentum. He'll like get hyped up in himself and be like screaming like "Fight around me, I'm huge" kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more of those kind of games from Stu.
I think he said in game 1 when he got soloed, it was Bobby's fault. He said Bobby told him to stay. He was like, "I'm gonna back," and Bobby was like, "Nah, stay for the wave, stay for the wave." And Emo just like high ult. No, was he high at the time? I think he high ulted in.
Yeah.
And killed him. Yeah.
I don't think I remember it specifically being Bobby's fault, but you know,
That's what Stu said. Stu said it definitely wasn't his fault. That's for sure.
Stuart's a talker, so he likes to talk.
The Levi's played the Bolts, and this is a pretty big set here. You know, kind of a nice top 4 mashup. A lot of good team fights from the Levi's is all that I have noted down here. Is there anything special about this set that you guys wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have like no memory of this set. I do remember being impressed by the Leviathans winning. I feel like it was pretty convincing, the fact that they won. Like it could have even been a 2-0, but they took it 2-1. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel like an important set, is the one thing I'd say about it. It's one of those where we may see these two teams play off against each other in the semifinals. So I guess they will have been careful about what they played as well, knowing that was a possibility, or maybe even a probability. I don't know if it was locked in by that point. I think if Kings lost to Warriors, then things could have changed. But yeah, I'm excited to watch these teams play off again.
Yeah, I'm looking through the picks and the bans here, and it just seems some standard stuff. I don't know. I think the thing that really impressed me is that the Leviathans weren't afraid to give up Fire Giant and sort of go for the fight afterwards. I think they did that really well, sort of baiting the team in and then using the Fire Giant maybe as a way to get kills. I think they ended game 3 off of a play like that, where they like decided them out of Fire Giant and then decided them again. And you know, that's a pretty good game if you're the Levi's there. Any thoughts from you, Slainy, or adapting on this set?
I actually can't remember too much of it. I'm actually not even sure if I'm actually not sure I watched this one because I didn't think it mattered, right? It was because the only way it mattered was if
Yeah,
Kings lost to to.
I think you're right. Yes.
Wait, wait, Kings and
If
All
Kings
Warriors,
lost, if
right?
Kings lost to Warriors, then Leviathans
Yeah,
could
exactly.
get
And
second.
I was like,
yeah.
I don't think that's happening. So I was
Yeah.
probably just grinding ranked Apex.
Yeah.
So.
Apex, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, maybe it's like a bold statement or whatever, but I kind of worried that the Bolts have like maybe come to like a halt or whatever, like their progress isn't as productive as it usually was in the past. I kind of like worry that they aren't taking scrims as seriously. Like, there's times where they're like end scrims early versus us, or they think they're like a waste of times. Where from like our perspective, they're like going pretty well. And I've like heard other things from other people doing that, like things will like happen in game, and they'll like start messaging like the players like, oh, didn't know this was ranked or something, and like to me it just kind of like comes across that they're like making excuses in practice and they're not taking them as serious. I don't know if it's like maybe it's like an ego thing or something. Maybe they just think they're too good, or I'm not sure. But it just seems to me like their practice isn't going as well. I always hear about games ending early. I always hear about like Harry will message me like, yeah, like we can go to the gym now, like scrims cancelled early kind of thing. I just worry that the Bolts aren't taking scrims as serious, or they aren't focusing as much as they need to. Like maybe that's just because this game didn't matter as much, but to me it didn't seem like they were like not caring. It looked like they were trying to win. They had pretty serious drafts. Like they were like picking stuff that they normally would. I don't know. It just worries me that their heads aren't in the game as much as it was in the other phase.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I think since sort of the Kings were the streak busters, they've stagnated sort of quite a bit. I feel like, I mean, they've obviously beaten the teams they needed to beat, but some of these matches against the top four have been a bit of a struggle for the Bolts. I think, especially since the Kings beat them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They do have sort of a bye into the semifinals, right, or quarterfinals? No, semifinals.
Semifinals, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they're just playing the meta here and they have something in the tank, something spicy pull out there, you know?
Jake tier support. Back in action.
Back in action. I mean, that would be fun. No one's gonna complain about Jake tier support, right?
No.
Ranked teammates would. The menace back in the day with that thing.
Any other thoughts about this Levi's versus Bolt set? I know we don't really spend too much time talking about the Levi's here, but Zatman has been sort of just plug and play for them, right? I think he sort of fit in right as we expected, right? He's
looked way better for them than he did for the Scarabs. I think he's looked like he's better individually for them than he has against the Scarabs. He has had occasional zap moments where he's kind of ended, but mostly like his relic usage has been super on point, which is crazy to see. It must just be coach diff, Slainy. Maybe Oxy's been telling him. He's been like, right, the F key, use it. G key, use that too. Use both.
Just
Yeah.
a coach
I
diff.
agree. Sap has actually, I feel like he stepped it up in a bit. Not that I think he was playing like bad necessarily. It's just I just feel like he's definitely like looking a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Steve has always like loved the front line on Leviathans. Like he would always like say like, yeah, that's how you should be playing the game kind of thing. So I think he's I mean, he's always like been a beast, and I think he's just like a player that will always play up to the level of his team.
Right.
I think there's like certain players like that across the league, and I think Steve is just one of them. So I don't think he's ever going to be a detriment to the team. I think he's just going to play as well as his team does, and obviously Leviathans are just all really good. So he's just going to play really good as well.
Sure. Any other thoughts here about the Leviathans? I think a lot of Shinto and Panatom in the set, if I remember correctly, getting kills and things like that. So
When is it not Shinto? They funnel everything into him. He's got to be carrying.
yeah, I mean that's his job, right? Give him the farm and let him carry. The Camelot Kings versus the Oni Warriors. Was this the set that was delayed till Monday? I believe it was.
Yeah.
Due to genetics unfortunately being in the hospital over the weekend. Thankfully, I think he's back out now, right?
Yeah, he's doing good. He's doing
Doing
good.
good, feeling well, I hope.
Yeah, he's coming up here next weekend. Looking forward to seeing him.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Kings look pretty good here. I don't know if there's too much to say about these two games. The Kings really stomp it out. I think Twig probably was his best set of all of the season, maybe, right? Goes 10-0 in game 1 and then or 7-0 in game 1 and then 12-0 in game 2. Kind of pretty good set here for Twig. It's been a very up and down phase. Like I think 4 weeks ago we were talking about how Twig died 31 times
In week 1, yeah.
in 1 week or something like that, and now Twig is going deathless in a set here. So things are,
I wonder if he's
peaking at the right time, right?
I wonder if he's ever had a deathless jungle set before. Twig is not the kind of guy who does not die in a set.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that. That's not his thing. But he was nuts. Warriors, disappointing, as they have been for a lot of this year. I mean, you can put it down to a ping to a certain point, but one thing that annoys me about the Warriors right now is they're banning Tiamat on first pick side, which I just think. And last year we had Dardas not playing Persephone. This year you have him not playing Tiamat. I think he needs to play the game and play those gods and learn them and have his team confident and willing to pick them on first pick side. I mean, Big Man Tings plays Tiamat and makes it look great, right? You can't leave that open against him. He's playing on the same ping as Dardes. I don't see why Dardes can't have one. That is a little dig at Dardes. I've already done that today as well, so I feel kind of bad. But he whipped out the Hera again. I do love seeing Dardes Hera, but I wish... I don't know. It didn't... And Nika Yorm as well wasn't impressive. The Warriors in general. Yeah.
Why?
I always do.
Why?
No,
That god doesn't do anything.
He's a big snake, man.
Yeah, he's a
he
big
got
snake.
most kills on his team. 2 kills.
Yeah, well,
He
Nika's
went
always
2,
going to do
2,
that.
and 2.
He's a beast, but imagine if he was playing a real god.
Yeah, he got 3 kills in game 2 on Cthulhu, so yeah. Only way is up, really.
It's true. It's true. Any thoughts from you adapting on the Kings here?
I mean, they're just again Twig just looking good. I'm happy to see that. I want Twig to have a good performance this LAN and kind of pop off. Honestly.
Yeah. Next out of the week is the Olympus Bolts versus the Valhalla Valkyries. Unfortunately, Valks, I think, they did look much better, I think, in game 2, at least early on, able to fight in a little bit, but I think the Bolts might have been playing with their food a little bit, and sort of close it out pretty quickly here. The total game time was under an hour, so I imagine these games went by pretty quick. Any thoughts here, just as expected?
As expected, I think.
Yeah.
Really.
Raph picked Athena. That was kind of cool. Johnny picked his Loki again. Didn't go well, but the Ratatosker went pretty well. They did things in the early game. I feel bad for them, man, but they're just...
Like they do things in the early game, and it doesn't matter what they do in the early game. Like, I feel like sometimes they even have leads, like even gold leads, XP leads, and it just doesn't matter at all when the team fight happens, because the ping is maybe too much of a barrier there.
It is really hard when you do have 5 people on high ping. Like it's not hard, like it's hard for anyone, like playing on high ping to begin with, especially with relics. But then like the confidence, I feel like must be, to me at least, I feel like that must be like the biggest thing for them, because you can't really trust anything you do, because blinks on high ping are annoying, because sometimes you blink and like it's like a small delay. And then you don't really know, like, did I end up in the right spot? And then, like, you maybe, like, randomly alt or, like, it's just all these small things. And then you have the fact that, like, obviously they haven't been doing this. I feel like, it's just rough for them.
They can kind of do shoot themselves their own foot, though. Like, obviously it's been, like, said multiple times, but, like, they don't scrim on NA. They don't, I feel like there's, like, so many things that they could do to try and make themselves better. And I think it shows in the way that they play that they don't try and get better, like with like their mistakes. Like I think it's like what Paul said, like they do stuff early game and they will get to leads, but then it'll come mid game or late game and they'll just like make a similar mistake than they always do. Like it's like slightly too aggressive or just going for something that they shouldn't have. Like they'll just like throw the leads that they work hard to get, they just throw it away. I just think that they're all good players and they're smart. They should know their mistakes, and they just don't fix the mistakes that I think are pretty obvious. and they just don't do themselves any favors. But obviously, it's pretty hard from their perspective. Like what Kenneth said, like you're like Johnny's playing on like 160 ping. I think like that's just gonna always feel terrible regardless of the situation. Like even blinking and stuff. Like melee characters feel horrible on that kind of ping. Like so it's like it's some things are out their control, but I think there's like things that they could be doing where they could make it feel better, get used to the ping kind of thing.
I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree.
For what it's worth, I spoke to Ducky recently, prepping for a video I was making, and he said that they are going to be scrimming on NA next phase, apparently. So that's what they've said. They're moving to NA scrims. They started on NA scrims. They said they moved to EU scrims because they wanted to practice for Worlds. Once they understood that they were never going to make it to the US, I assume they were just like, well, we'll just scrim on EU. But apparently for phase 3, they're going back to NA scrims. So maybe we'll see them be a bit better. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I think motivation and confidence must be real hard to find for them at the moment with the situation they're in. You know, I feel bad for them.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate situation all around. It's not like there's really anyone to blame, right? Just how it is, how the world is spinning right now. So, any final thoughts here on this set, or shall we move on to the next 2-0 here of the week?
Get us away from it. It's making me sad.
All right, let's move on to the Atlantis Leviathans versus the Solar Scarabs here. There's definitely some interesting things to talk about because, of course, Scream is playing jungle for the Scarabs, so he picked Terra in game 1 in the jungle. So that was an interesting experiment. And then game 2, we see the Bologna in the jungle. Another interesting experiment. Slainy, what's going through your head when Scream's like, hey, Terra's up, I'm picking Terra in the jungle? Is that something you guys are working on? Or I know there was maybe some bug abusing going on as well, right? Or
I mean, you could say bug abusing, but that's like saying genetics has been bug abusing on Animosity Terra. Like, it's not really bug abusing, it's just obviously mechanic at this point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it like has its merit. It's like has really good clear. It double procs Bumbers, so you're auto attacking for 50 extra true damage at level 1. Like, he was out clearing like Osiris, which is I think considered probably the best jungle clear right now. And I'm not saying Terra's like some like amazing pick that everyone should be picking, but she has her pros to be in the jungle. Just as she has like unnegotiable like 700 extra damage on her roll, like you can't avoid it kind of thing. So, but it also like at the same time it didn't really mean that much to us this set. Like I think there was a world where we could have finished over the Warriors, but like it was like completely out of our hands. So we just kind of like we wanted to try stuff, like see how things were. Like obviously we're still improving. It was still trying to improve. So it was more Scream just like wanting to try it in an SPL setting and seeing how it goes, which I think is important. And the Bologna pick, Bologna I think is just a fine jungle. Risk, I can't remember if it's been played in SPL, so I don't want to say who's played it just in case they haven't, so I'm not leaking it. But like it's been played in scrims by like some teams and stuff. Like it's a good pick. It's fine.
Played it in solo lane.
Yeah, solo.
This past weekend, we just didn't talk about it. But I feel like even Final K or some other people have taken maybe Nika, right? Nika took Bologna to the solo lane as well. So, we have seen some Bologna. I just don't think we've really seen it in the jungle. So that was kind of surprising. But I think with mannequins and Ikval and all these attack speed items, she's probably not too bad in there.
To be fair, Bologna is actually really good at like, I mean, at least against physicals, she's super strong for like 1v1ing and like with the Ikai Valrush, etc. You're actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
So like I actually think it could be like a viable pick, but obviously I don't think it's something you can pick every game because it can be annoying with like against some mages at least I think.
I think I prefer in jungle over solo. I hate Bologna solo. I think it sucks. I wish people would stop playing it.
Yeah, I mean she's always going to be good at like
that.
What's that to say? I mean, just I think she works pretty well in the jungle because ADCs are really strong right now, and she's like kind of like the premier like anti-ADC character kind of thing. She has like two things in her kit that just kind of own ADCs. So I think she makes like sense into like hyper carry ADCs where the ADC is like a big point into a team's team fight for something like into Artemis. She's always going to be good into Artemis kind of thing. So yeah, I think she works pretty good in the jungle.
That's interesting. I think now that the ADCs are maybe the jungle is getting buffed, maybe not ADCs getting nerfed, right? We're going to see in this upcoming patch think after Phase 2 playoffs, I think we'll see maybe some changes to that. I think welcome changes from jungler perspective. What's going to happen? Any final thoughts about this set? Anything else that was interesting to you guys about the Leviathans here? 2 Sentinels boons. Only one was on, and no Fafnirs. What's going on here, Hayzer?
Boon Goons. Apparently, everybody's a Boon Goon these days.
Yeah,
it seems like it's the way. Yeah, it's the way to go, right? It's just better.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably still like kind of preference, but I don't think the prots from what's it called? Is it Sentinel? Is that one Sentinel's Embrace? Yeah. I can't remember the name, but yeah, I don't think the prots are like that impactful considering you already have so many other options for auras. Like if you really want to give your team aura protections, you can just do that.
Sure.
But Boon like at level 17, the support's not full build. The extra gold really helps, but it also helps with like sieges and defense, like with the amount that you heal from it. I just think it's like, in my opinion, just a better item, better starter.
I just remembered this set a little bit better. Actually, I remembered this was actually the worst set we've had Baronic have in ages. He's been so consistent for the Scarabs, and suddenly this set he was bad. So hopefully he gets back on the horse in the near future. I didn't like in game 1 you guys kind of got ran over, and then game 2 I think you went Warlocks, and then you guys got kind of run over again. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I don't want to I don't think it's like helpful to put players on blast or anything, but like.
Yeah,
Brendan like knows when he's like made those mistakes, and he's like the type of player that will like use these off games that he's had like as motivation to like do better. So yeah, I agree that it was like a pretty like rough set from Brendan, but like he's like spoken to me a lot about it, and like he's like really motivated now to like use like these mistakes that he made to like improve. So there's like no worry on like that.
Yeah, I think he's been really good for the majority of the year. I just remembered the game and remembered what happened. I think he's actually. He's been, what do I want to say? Surprised? I don't know. A surprise for me in how well he's played. Yeah, because it was originally supposed to be Krim on this team, obviously, before Baronic came in. So I think he's definitely taken the opportunity he was given and run with it. So good stuff from him.
I mean, people are focus banning him out, right? I think Janice in end of Phase 1, early Phase 2 has kind of been a focus ban out. So hey, if you can control one of the ban slots, that's respect, right?
Yeah, we got a few weeks where teams like stopped banning it, and then we had like some good sets with it, and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna get this god again. Like we might as well just like focus on some other characters for a while because we just like kind of knew that we weren't gonna get it.
All right, the last set of the week here was a surprising 2-0 from the Tartarus Titans over the Jade Dragons. Maybe not that surprising considering basically everyone played sort of troll picks. We had a set mid from her wind in game 1, a Ganesha solo, so I don't know. Not too much to really glean from this. Aurora did go 10-0 on the Pele support, so, good for him. Players played well on Apollo Jungle in game 2, I guess. Anything you guys want to say about this game? What do you guys think about Hades support? Is that the new hotness?
I hope not. I feel like I've been pretty pro layers this video, yeah, whatever we're calling this,
sure.
This show. By him picking Apollo Jungle in the troll games, that's not on. I won't have that. That's not that troll. He's playing against, what's he playing against in the jungle? He's playing against Osiris ADC, Rat support, Anubis jungle, Izanami mid, Umoja solo.
Yeah.
He's picking Apollo. Johnny's playing that on 160 ping and feeding.
It's true.
But he's trying. That's when he's trying. So yeah, I'm against the Apollo. Other than that, yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. It was a good laugh. I'm glad that it's a shame that we can't have all the sets be super serious, but I think it's a nice bit of relief, a nice palate cleanser at the end of the phase.
Slainy adapting. Any thoughts from you on this set, or nothing too much to think about here?
I think it's good they had fun with it. Like I thought those sets were kind of fun back when like you were kind of secured in your spot, and then you still had to play the game. So I mean, yeah, okay, sure. But it's just good fun, and like having it's good for the teams to do that and like have a good time with each other before like the important event.
Yeah. I mean, these teams were like. There was like a pretty like decent chance that they just play each other in playoffs anyway, and it didn't mean anything for standings. So I think it kind of makes sense for like neither of the teams to really try. Like, there's no point even risk giving away something that you might think is valuable, even if you're just playing normal stuff. Like, you're just kind of cementing like ideas of what the other teams think about you. So I think trolling is like kind of objectively the best thing for both teams to do in this situation.
Sure.
Just give away nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
might as well have fun.
That's a good segue there, Slainy, to talking about the Phase 2 playoffs here. The J Dragons and the Titans are going to be playing in the quarterfinals. I think that's sort of the way that the bracket worked out. But I want to start with the teams who auto qualified to the semis here, the Bolts and the Kings. I want to ask you guys about being able to choose the bracket side. Is that something that you think the Kings, are valuing highly, or is it just, an extra little perk for them?
I don't know if it's true, but I heard that part of the reason why they picked the side that they did is because they played earlier. So it's just they get to play at 1 rather than having to play really late for like big man and genetics. So
Sure.
I didn't think they really cared about it that much.
It might make a difference. That's definitely something to consider. Hayzer, adapting, your thoughts on being able to choose the bracket side? Is that something that you want to have, or do you think it doesn't matter too much?
I think it's kind of cool. I like that they get the option at least, and then you do whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I feel like they probably don't care too much, because if you're gonna be the best team at the tournament, you're gonna probably beat everyone anyway, so probably don't care.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think they probably don't mind which side they're on. Maybe it gives them. Maybe they feel like the other teams on the other side of the bracket. It might be nice to get a bit more time to watch the Leviathans. Maybe their strategies might be more nuanced, I suppose. But I don't know. I even wonder if even getting a bye to the semifinals actually a bonus at the end of the day. I mean, you get I guess we could argue both ways about it, but you get the advantage of not showing any of your picks until you play that team that you play in the semifinals, but you don't come in as warm. You don't come in having played a bit of higher pressure smite beforehand. I mean, normally I think when it's on LAN, it's a much bigger shift in that respect, where you've got a game on LAN that you've already played, so you've come in and you're more used to the environment and you've become comfortable with it. But I still think you can argue both ways about whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage getting the bye.
Sure. Still want to maybe talk about the playoffs generally. We've seen Persephone sort of become available recently here at the end of Phase 2. Seen a couple teams play around with her. I don't know if she's really made the impact that I think I expected from Persephone. You think there's more of Persephone to come? A guy that sort of we haven't really seen too much in the SPL. Is that maybe going to be a pressure pick here in the playoffs?
I'm actually surprised. I feel like she's kind of strong right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that she hasn't done well surprises me, because I feel like, at least even in EU ranked, like I can't stand playing against the god. She's so annoying. She still has so much burst damage, and like I feel like right now people also don't know how much damage she does at times. Like the amount of times people just like die randomly to her right now is. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see, but I would be surprised if she's not like picked at all, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's a good god, a good mage, but name one mage that's not like really good right now. I feel like mids have like 10 different gods that they can pick that are all like in the same category, but they're all like just OP kind of thing. And I think Persephone just kind of fits in there. Like in my eyes, it's like same kind of like tier list as like Raijin, even like Baba. Like all of those gods to me, they just do a million damage and they just abuse item procs that they just have. And I don't personally think Persephone's too different. And she doesn't like bring that much more than what other mages can already do. So I think she's just like kind of fits in there, and like if the middle laner that is on that team that wants to play her is good with her, then she's good. If not, then she's just another mage kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, agreed. I think she's like a second tier mage, actually. I think you've got like Tiamat, you've got Tiamat, Raijin, and then kind of like a load of gods down here. You've got like, your Yanis for certain people, you've got your Baba, you've got your Morgan Le Fay, you've got your Persephone. Like those ones are sitting in that area for me. But I think that like Tiamat and Raijin are both definitively above the rest, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see come playoff time, I guess.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. There, we talked about this maybe before we started recording here a little bit. Do you guys expect any meta shifts? I know, Aurora is always one to maybe try and change something up going into a tournament. We've sort of seen that quite a bit from him in the past. Is there something you think anything brewing? I don't know. You guys have heard any rumors or anything?
Honestly, no idea.
The one that I had in
no
mind
idea.
was maybe Athena. Athena, I feel like could come in. I feel like Raph played it and it looked all right, and I feel like it's the kind of god that when she hasn't been in the meta for a bit, she can come out strong. She could be good in solo. She could be good in support. So I think maybe her. I think we're just going to see a load of magicals in solo lane, and it's going to be grim. I think it's going to be the solo laners are going to be sad. At least, a lot of them will be. Some of them will be happy. Variety, maybe he'll be happy. Maybe he can. He plays the most annoying gods, doesn't he? But
when are we gonna see like raw solo? Is that ever gonna come to no?
Yeah.
I don't know about
Raijin,
that.
maybe.
Right. I was gonna say Raijin solo was actually
Yeah.
super strong, at least in ranked it was. So I could honestly see that being a pick at some point, but probably won't.
Lenny, anything you're
Yeah.
seeing in the scrims at all?
I don't-
Contractually obligated to not say.
Well, I just don't think there's enough time between when SPL finished
Mhm.
and playoffs. It's literally a week. It's just another day of SPL, in my opinion. I don't think there's going to be anything different, unless teams have specifically been hiding stuff for weeks. But I think, honestly, from like, I know Ben wouldn't have this philosophy anymore. Or Captain Twig wouldn't have this philosophy. I know anyone on the Dragons don't have this philosophy where they want to hide things anymore. So I and they're already like two of like the top contenders, and they're also the teams that like usually have something weird. So I think if those two teams specifically aren't going to be doing anything different and they haven't hidden anything, then there's not really going to be anything different throughout this whole tournament. Maybe there will be like a change in priority in picks, which like sometimes happens, like specifically between two teams, like maybe like a random Serket just becomes like a first pick, first ban for the team in a set. Like that's kind of what happens in best of fives.
It is, yeah.
Teams will like adapt over time, but I can't really see any like pick that wasn't picked before that suddenly gets picked, or like some like huge meta shake up. Just don't think there's enough teams to be able to figure that kind of stuff out.
I mean, we do often see though, like when these playoffs happen, there is sometimes a bit of a playoff meta. I don't know. It seems like that sort of clashes with what we've seen in the SPL, where the top 4 teams basically have their own, I don't know, sort of pick and ban philosophy, I guess, or their own meta that they want to play. Do you think that those two things might butt up against each other here, or do you think it's just going to be teams playing what they want to play, and there are enough gods basically to like go around for each of these teams, or for all these teams?
I think the gods that the top 4 teams consider good are actually pretty similar. I don't think they're that far apart from each other. I mean, jungle, like everybody's valuing Osiris and Gilgamesh high. Like support's the same gods, mid is the same sort of gods. Like I don't think the metas are actually that different when it comes to pick and ban. I think maybe the way the teams play is a bit different, but the pieces that they put together to use the comps that they do, I think they play the map differently, and maybe they draft different levels of pressure and stuff like that. But the gods, I think, are actually fairly consistent. At least in my head, they are. Maybe I'm way off the mark, but that's the way it feels to me.
Sure. This week, I had the pleasure of interviewing Stuart, the ADC for the Solar Scarabs, to talk about recently getting into the SPL and his Smite career on the whole as well. Take a look. Hey guys, I'm here with Stuart, the ADC for the Solar Scarabs. Talk about Stu finally getting into the SPL and look back on sort of your career and maybe look forward to Worlds a little bit as well. So finally, Stu, you made it to the SPL. I think I remember, I want to say 2 years ago, we were hanging out at the Smite World Championship after party, which you should all go to if you have a chance. I remember telling you, I said, Stu, you're going to be in the SPL one day. Do you remember that, Stu? You remember that night?
I do.
And you're finally here, so, I'm feeling vindicated, and I'm super proud that you finally made it, man. I'm glad that you're here. So, what were your sort of expectations coming into the SPL? Like, I'm sure you've been watching the SPL for a long time, and and have seen all these, players who've been playing here. What were sort of your expectations coming in to the league?
Expectations, I guess, to just to get better, but honestly thought it was gonna be a lot harder than it actually was. I mean, I know we lose almost every game, but I thought it was gonna be harder. I guess I don't know.
Wait, can you explain that maybe a little bit more? What do you mean exactly harder? Was it Is it just
I thought,
it's not as mechanically taxing as you thought it might be?
yeah, I thought the players would be like, I mean, I thought the players would be like a lot better.
Mm.
Is what I thought, you know. And they're not like, I don't know. I feel like I thought it was gonna be like way further than it was from like SEC.
Really, a lot of people say that there's like a pretty big gap between SEC and SPL. You don't really feel that, or is it
Well,
a big gap in like different ways?
I think it's a big gap in different ways. I think like it's definitely like a big gap in like team play, but like the individual like talent wise, I think it's like not that big of a gap with certain players, of course. Like if you go with like the higher end of like the SEC teams, like Baskin's team, or like,
Yeah,
well, the Tiburones were good. I don't know if they're like good anymore, but they were like good. But I don't know anymore. But like, yeah, yeah,
do you
yeah.
feel like the way that the players play together as a team is a bit different, and in SEC you're maybe playing a bit more for yourself and looking out for your own KDA a little bit more, or is that a good way to put it, or am I reading too much into that?
I think like the team play is a lot better, but like the individual like I mean both the individual mechanics and the team play are better, but like the team play is way more better than the actual individual mechanics by player is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense for me, and at least means that I still got a chance, right, to make it to the SPL as long as
Right.
So we've sort of been doing this already, but can you maybe compare this Scarabs team and this team environment to maybe other teams you've been on? I mean, I understand that you've not been on any other SPL teams. I don't know if you've subbed for some teams or not, but can you maybe compare this squad that you've been on for the past couple of weeks with other teams that you've been on in the past?
Well, I've only been on one other team. That's my SEC team with Sino, Nick, Pagon, Ionic, and am I missing somebody? Sino, Pagon, Nick, Ionic. Oh, that's 4 people. I'm trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's not like too different. I mean, I have a coach now, so that's different. Like he like does a lot. So, but I don't think it's like too different to be honest.
Sure. Have you do you feel like you've been improving these first couple weeks in phase 2? Like,
Yeah.
is that something that you're noticing, or
just a little bit.
just a little bit?
Yeah, I'm still kind of bad. Need more improvement, but just a little bit.
Hey man, you've only been in the league what, like 6 weeks now, right? So
Yeah.
there's time. It took Paul a whole year to just get used to the SPL right before he started winning worlds. So you're right on time, okay, Stu?
Yeah. Thank you.
So you mentioned Slainy there a little bit, and it's pretty hard to quantify all the things that a coach does for a team. But you brought up that he like does a lot, and it seems like he's had a pretty big impact on you so far in the SPL. Can you talk about how he's helped you out here?
Well, not only like the schedule and stuff, because there's like a whole like spreadsheet of stuff that I have to look at and like drafts and the schedule, but like in game, sometimes he like points out things like how to play fights differently. That helps a lot too.
Yeah. Is that something you wish you had on SEC teams? You think there's a space in that league for more coaches, or is it just a little too casual?
I think it's kind of like, I don't want to say like it's top heavy, but it kind of is. Like the top teams usually just like roll everybody, and it's like it's not like hard or anything. So I don't like think there's like a need for it.
Yeah.
Maybe for like the bottom end teams, but like yeah, usually like the top end teams just roll everybody. Well, at least in NA. I don't know about you.
Sure. So I don't know how you feel about it, but you got sort of a couple characters on your team in like Scream and Bobby, who sort of, at least Scream does his own thing on the battleground all the time, and I'm sure he's a pleasure to be around in the game. Now, how's it been sort of on this team with big personalities? I know you streamed a little bit in the past, but I don't know, you're a little bit quieter than some of the other SPL players. Is that not that Scream is like a big personality, but I mean in game he sort of has this aura about him, right? So is that something that you've noticed, or is that something that you've had to adjust to?
I actually think he's kind of like him and Sandro kind of like are the same in like a lot of ways. So not really a difference between him, but like yeah, not much of a difference because Scream and him are kind of like Scream and Sino are kind of the same.
Yeah. So I wanted to maybe look forward to Worlds a little bit here. I know Phase 2 just ended. Unfortunately, the Scarabs here didn't make the playoffs. early on in a lot of people's SPL careers, the big question is, do you have enough gods that you like can't get banned out and things like that? I know early on, Raythan, made some tweets about maybe you expanding your god pool and things like that. Is that something that you take into account at all? Is that like a conscious thing that you're looking maybe by the end of phase 3 to have some more things in the up sleeve?
I think my god puddle is fat enough, to be honest. You only need like 4 gods. Like if you have like 4 gods,
What if
I
they
think you'll be
ban you
fine.
out? What if they ban you out, Stu?
They can't ban Big Stu out. It's impossible. Come on. Be real with yourself. They can't ban Big Stu out.
That is true. That is true, Stu. I did also, I'm not sure how much you guys you have read into this yet, but it seems to be quite a bit of balance changes coming up after the end of this phase. I'm sure you guys are sort of looking towards that as you prepare for phase 3 and things like that. Is there anything in these new patch notes that we've seen recently that you're excited about, or is it all just bad as the junglers are sort of getting a buff?
I'm not gonna cap. I have not looked at the patch notes at all. They have, because we went to dinner tonight and they were going on and on about it, but I didn't know what they were talking about. I saw something about like a Hui buff and like a Uller buff, and maybe a
Uller buff,
Transcendence
yeah.
buff.
Yeah.
So maybe the Stuart comes out, maybe the Stu Yi comes out, or maybe they just still suck. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be
But
fun,
yeah,
man.
I haven't looked at the patch notes at all.
I've been waiting for the Stuhler. I think you've been able to play it a couple times so far, right?
Not this phase at all. I haven't played it at all. I've like been playing like Rama and Heim, maybe like an Artemis or 2. Probably not.
Man, we gotta see you pull out the Stuhler, man. I'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad god.
Worse than Hu Yi even.
I think they both kind of suck, but
I mean,
maybe with the changes they're good.
well, I mean, Panda's able to play Hu Yi. I'm sure you can pick up the Stuhler every now and then. Huh?
That guy's kind of like number 1, and I'm kind of like down here. We let those guys do what they do up there. We stick to the OP guys down here.
Yeah, you stay grinding, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I did want to maybe switch gears here a little bit, talk about your short and sweet career that you've had in Smite. I don't know if I've seen you even play in these amateur leagues before, like 2 or 3 years ago. Is that when you started getting into the competitive scene, Stu?
The first time I got like competitive is on the Sino team. Well, I guess I played SOC, but like I don't know if that counts or anything.
I
But
think
that was
that
like a
counts.
while ago.
When did you
like a
start playing SOC?
Maybe it was like season 6 or 6 maybe, and it was like a team with like Haddix, Glavis, Jake, and either Grayson or Pagon.
Hey, that's a pretty good team there. Two of those guys now made the SPL, so and you too. So that's and Sino. I don't know, man. That's a pretty baller team.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about when you first started playing sort of competitive Smite. That was your first Smite team with Sino and all these people. So you were just like grinding rank before then.
Yeah, pretty much. Just a lot of ranked every day.
Yeah. So I don't know. That seems like a pretty good way, I guess, to get noticed and on a pretty nice team to get started on there.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky with the teams I got on, like back to back.
Yeah. What was your second team there that you also got lucky with?
It was Steino, Quig, Pagon, and Nick, or Relentless one.
So you're
And
just
then-
you're just riding Sino's coattails, huh, Stu? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm hearing?
yeah, we love that guy.
Yeah, we do
He's
love Sino.
taught me a lot.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of people who taught you a lot, I've been asking sort of this question of a lot of the pros, and it might be maybe a little more pertinent for you since you're just now getting into the SPL. Can you talk about maybe any rivals that you've had on your journey here, and then sort of the flip side of that coin, any people who've been mentors to you in getting to the SPL at all?
Rivals, I don't think I had a rival in SEC. Kind of just rolled everyone, It's like just it's pretty easy. But SPL, I don't know. I kind of just get shit on every game, so probably no rivals there. But like mentors, I don't know if I have like any mentors, but like I used to watch Steven a lot, like back
Yeah.
in the day. But that's about it for like that.
What about just sort of like learning how to play competitive? You know, because that's a whole different beast than ranked. Anyone help you in that, or is it just Stu in the grindhouse learning it by himself?
Competitive wise, I guess like I like watched like the actual games, like the Smite Pro games, and other than that, I guess just SEC playing with Sino and the boys and Pagon and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Stu. So we're basically done here. Last question I always have for my guests is, you know, who you trying to call out? Who's in your scrims? And then if you're not trying to call anybody out, you know, feel free to give some shout outs, you know, to people who are supporting you and let the people know where they can find you and how come we haven't seen a Stu stream in years and years. Actually, I feel like I saw one pretty recently, so that might be a lie there. But yeah, go ahead. Call outs, shout outs, whatever you got. You know, if you have any thoughts on the game or whatever, I'm sort of giving the soapbox to you here, Stu. So take it away.
First person I'm calling a fucking Hayzer. Wait, can I cuss?
I think you can cuss. It's fine.
Okay. I'm calling out Hayzer. This man he put me 8th on the tier list. I was like, what is that? And he needs to show some more respect. And then I'm calling out my team because all they do is int. You know, I'm over here powerhouse in my lane, and all they do is feed. And then for a shout out, like shout out the boys, the team, the old team with Sino and Pagon, Nick, Ionic, those guys. Griff's also new on the team. He's good. And then maybe I'll stream soon. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great to see. Also, shout out to shop.smiteproleague.com. You know, pick yourselves up a nice Solar Scarabs jersey. You know, you gotta represent for the boys, and you know, it's always good to support our SPL players and SPL teams. All the money that you spend there, I believe, goes straight to the players. So, shop.smiteproleague.com. Get yourself some nice merch. Stu, I want to thank you so much for coming on. You've been a great guest here, and always love talking to you. And wish you the best of luck here in Phase 3 and your career going forward in the SPL. And hopefully, we can see you at Worlds too.
Thank you for having me, and I'll be there for sure. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Stu. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
I think it's time for us to make picks here for the playoffs here. I think we'll start with the quarterfinals, the Atlantis Leviathans versus the Oni Warriors. Slainy, why don't we start with you here? Who do you think is going to win this set?
I think it's pretty safe to say that Leviathans will probably just win. I do think right now that the meta does really favor Leviathans. I know that's like kind of like an easy like cop out like throwaway comment, but I really do think that right now they're the team to benefit the most out of the meta being the way that it is. So I think assuming that the meta stays the same, I don't really see the Leviathans struggling too much here. Maybe Nika like gets playoff buff, but I think that's like the only hope that the Warriors have. I just can't really see them winning, to be honest.
So 3-2, 3-1, 3-0?
3-1 3-1 worst. I think it's safe to say 3-0.
Okay. Hayzer, who you got in this one?
Yeah, I got Levi's 3-0 as well. I mean, same boat. I think the only place where they might struggle meta-wise is solo. Like, I don't know if the meta suits hardcore as much as it does some of the other solo laners, but everything else, I feel like, yeah, straight in there. Panatom's in his element, I think, especially. So, yeah, I've got them 3-0.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off there. Adapting, who you got in this one?
No, probably 3-0 as well, to be fair, for the Leviathans. And then they have Sapman on land, Mr. Hollywood, so hoping to see some cool plays out of him.
Sure. Yeah, I like that you mentioned that it might not be Yarkor's meta, Hayzer, but I think we've sort of seen him pick up the serve and look pretty good on the serve. So he does have at least one Guardian in the bag there that he can maybe try to pick out here with all these other Guardians in the solo lane.
Yeah, I think he has an REO too, so he's got a couple.
Yeah, he's got a couple maybe that fit the meta, but it'll be interesting to see. So a lot of Levi's fans here in the crowd, I guess. The next quarterfinal here is the J Dragons versus the Tartarus Titans. I want to remind you guys that like in Phase 1 playoffs, this was maybe the best game or the best set of the whole playoffs. I think, you know, the rest of the games were a little more one-sided. This went 3-2 between the J Dragons and the Titans. I don't know. I think we could probably be in for another one here. It seems like, I don't know. It seems like Jade Dragons are just kind of like tight. I don't know. They don't feel as like loose and I don't know, just feeling it as they have in the past, even on Rival or even earlier this year. Do you guys think? I'll start with you again, Slainy. Who you got in this one? Jade Dragons or Tartarus Titans?
I mean, I think it's safe to say the Dragons should probably win, but this meta is like as bad as it could be for Sam. I think this is literally the worst like nightmare season or meta for Sam to be playing.
Sure.
So it just like kind of depends. Like he's picking new gods that he like never played historically. Like he's like playing Serket and getting it banned from him and stuff. Like playing pretty well on it. So I don't know. I think it just kind of depends on Sam, but I think that's kind of like how that team was last year and how it is this year. If Sam's feeling it, they're probably going to do pretty good because they just have so many consistent players throughout the rest of the team. So I would say like 3-1 Dragons, I think.
Hayzer?
Yeah, I've got Dragons 3-1 as well. I don't want to just echo Slainy throughout this. Yeah, Dragons 3-1. I think it's a really interesting matchup though, Dragons versus Titans, because Titans, they've historically been very good at defending their own buffs, which is what Dragons are really good at doing, is invading those buffs. And if you get to the mid game, even against the Dragons mid to late game, I feel like you're almost favored to win at that point. They're much more of a run over you in the first 15 minutes type of team. I don't think they play mid late game that well from even, honestly. And I think they are trying to work on it and adjust to it. And yeah, this is I'm just echoing Slainy again. He's just so smart and so dreamy. But yeah, it's all going to be, it's down to Sam, and I think Hurry to an extent as well, depending on what Hurry plays and how he's playing. I think that does change things a bit for the Dragons. Like sometimes he's a superstar, sometimes he's just along for the ride, it feels like. So those two, I think, will sort of define how they're playing. And I think we see a different Dragons than we've seen for the majority of the last half of phase 2. I think we see Dragons back and forth.
Sure. You said 3-1?
3-1.
Adapting? Who you got in this one?
I also think the Dragons are gonna win. I don't really know what the score is gonna be. 3-1, 3-0, 3-2. I think it could easily be a 3-2. I also do think the Titans could also like kind of upset, I suppose. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot's gonna depend on like how, like if Sam's just playing consistently, I feel like they'll do well, and like because I feel like sometimes he's been a bit off, and sometimes he plays really well. So I mean, that's if he turns up to play and Torwin's playing well, then I'm pretty sure they're gonna do good. Like I don't really think they're gonna struggle too much otherwise. I mean, if they get to run early games, then yeah, they'll do well for sure.
So you think the Dragons are going to win, or what you got?
Yeah.
Dragons win?
Yeah, the Dragons. Yeah.
3-1? 3-0?
So I'll say 3-2.
All right, 3-2 Dragons. Well, since you guys all picked the same winners for both the quarterfinal set, I think we can probably ask about the semifinals too then. I think it's going to, from your guys' predictions, it's going to be the Bolts versus the Leviathans in the first semifinal. You guys got in this one, Bolts versus Levi's. Let's start with you, Hayzer.
Oh, me. Oh, no. I get to go before Slainy, so now he has to copy me. I got Leviathans winning this 3-2, actually. I think it's going to be a good set. Maybe get some Zatman versus Barracuda fireworks, get some fun in that one. I don't really know. I just feel like it's Leviathan's meta. I feel like they're the stronger team right now going into the playoffs. They've had the stronger results recently. They've looked better. I think basically across the team. Like I don't know, but I think the Bolts are going to show up. It's going to be a good set. But Leviathans take it 3-2.
Adapting, how about you? Who you got in this? Bolts or Levi's?
Of course, I'm gonna be copying, but I actually do think the Leviathans are gonna win. So usually, like, I mean, they haven't had like super good performances for tournaments, really. But I do feel like the meta does fit them really well right now, and I also think that like just listening a bit to like how the Bolts practice environment has kind of been recently also is not really a good sign for them. I mean, like how they're kind of like dealing with whatever they're dealing with, like in terms of like how they're handling losses or whatever. But yeah, I'm expecting the Leviathans to step it up more than anything and just like finally show that they're not gonna be like the team that always loses on tournament day.
Yeah.
And the scoreline, I'm calling 3-1 or 3-0.
Okay. Slainy, finish us off.
Yeah, I wanna say 3-0 to Leviathans as well. I really think this is gonna be like a wake up call bolts. I could be completely wrong. Obviously, it's a guess, but I think that they're going to lose, and I think it's probably not going to look that great for them. That they're going to really kick into overdrive going into phase 3. My bold prediction.
Sure. All right, let's go to the other side of the bracket here. The Kings get the Jade Dragons, who they beat in the last week of phase 2 here. Hayzer, why don't you start us off on this semifinal as well? Kings versus Jade Dragons. Who you got?
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting one, actually. I'm really looking forward to this already. I think the Kings kind of get debuffed going into this because I think they're the best pick ban team, but everybody else is going to be way more prepped for this and taking it way more seriously, and so their pick ban advantage won't be as pronounced for me.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, because I think the Dragons, will come in more prepped and have bans in there, and we're more likely. But they just have the Kings have so much you need to ban away. I mean, you've got Ram, you've got Hel, you've got Ymir, you've got Terra, you've got Umoja. Like, you can't give them Tiamat. Like, you don't want to give them. I don't know. You don't want to give them. You want to give them Osiris. There's so much stuff that you don't want to give them. Like, if it would be horrible for them if there was 6 bans for each team in the first phase at the moment, but there's not. So they're looking really, really strong. I've got them taking it 3-2 over the Dragons. I think it'll be a really good set, though. But I do have Kings winning.
How about you, Adapting? Who you got in this one? Kings versus Jade Dragons.
This is going to be one of the most exciting matches, I feel like. Or it's actually probably the one I'm the most excited for. I think the Kings are going to win. But it's like another, like it was set. I think I could probably go either way. And I mean, I feel like if Panda plays really like well, then that's gonna be like a big thing for them to like play through. Because I feel like in the previous tournament, Panda was playing like crazy well.
Sure.
And like just applying a lot of pressure like around duo side map, and they have to just kind of like keep playing around that. At least that's what I think that like they did really well.
Slainy, how about you?
It's pretty hard because I think this is their first. Is this the Kings' first best of 5? Because obviously they didn't play in the last one. So it'll be like interesting to see how they like do in best of 5s, because best of 5s are like completely different to best of 3s. Like you'll have mini metas like evolve throughout the set, like depending on like how long it goes. So I actually just have no idea which way it can go, because I think historically Dragons are like really good in best of 5s. I think they're smart with drafts and stuff, with adapting to things and that happen in the set. So I just think it depends on if the Kings can adapt to what's happening in the sets. I think skill-wise, I think the Kings are better right now. I just think it's hard to tell without knowing how the Kings do in best of 5s. But I'll just say Kings 3-2, because I have to give something.
3-2. So everyone's on the same page here. All the guests. So we know the finals is going to be Levi's versus Kings. So this is basically what the Levi's brought Zap in for, right? Take them to the promised land of winning playoffs and world champions. Adapting, let's start with you on this final. So you got here between the Kings and the Levi's.
Ooh, that's a big one. Didn't wait? Did the Kings end up winning a lot, right?
Yeah, I think that's what everyone said.
Yeah. I think it's I don't like sorry, but like I'm really not sure. Like I feel like it depends on how well Kings are playing. Like in the previous sets, like if they really feel like they're kind of gelling really well with whatever kind of like draft ideas they have, I think they'll win. But I do feel like if the Kings get to the finals, they're probably gonna win, because they have such a good way of drafting and good way of thinking and good way of playing the game, and like I feel like they're so consistent in the way they play. And so I feel like if they make finals, they'll probably end up winning it.
3-1? 3-0?
I'll just say 3-2.
All right, 3-2 Kings. Slainy, who you got in this one? Kings versus Levi's.
I think 3-1. I think the Kings have a lot easier of a long set versus Leviathans than they will against the Dragons. So I think it'll actually be a lot easier. I think if they do good in the first best of 5 against the Dragons, that they're going to be perfectly fine going to the next set. I think it will either be a 3-0 or 3 to King, assuming they get there.
Hayzer?
I got Leviathans 3-1, actually. I think Leviathans are going to take it home in the final. I think Leviathans have a better matchup into the Kings than other teams do, honestly. I think they're like Leviathans can peak at the same time of the Kings, like mid game, late game. They definitely have the potential to play at like at least a similar level to the Kings, which a lot of other teams don't, I think. And they're just way more active early game. I think we'll see. I think it'll probably come down to Panatom versus Twig on who plays better out of those two and who's in better form. I mean, end of the season, you definitely say Twig's been the one playing better, but I think Panatom's gonna take his team to the win. Yeah, I got Leviathans winning 3-1.
Interesting. Everyone picking the same things up until the final here, so at least we have a little bit of variety here. Thanks for watching the SPL Rundown this week. Be sure to catch us, not next week, but every week during the phase. We'll probably be off until the start of Phase 3 happens. If you want to catch extended cuts or past episodes of the SPL Rundown, be sure to check out our YouTube. It's APAM Productions on YouTube. If you have any ideas for future guests, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at APAM2 or at APAM Productions. And lastly, I want to give a big thanks and appreciation to my guests here. Give you some time to shout yourselves out. Slainy, why don't you start us off here?
Just wanted to thank APAM for obviously hosting this talk show. It's always fun to be on it. My Twitter's same old thing, Slainy Smite, Monka S on Twitch. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, thank you APAM for having us on.
Hayzer?
Yeah, I'm Hayzer. Thanks for having me on as well, Pam. You can see me on Twitter at Hayzer Smite and just twitch.tv/Hayzer if you want to see my general debauchery. And yeah, hopefully no more hot tub streams.
Don't forget the YouTube, right?
Depends who you ask.
Oh yeah, YouTube. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. Just search for it. You'll find it.
Adapting?
Yes, well, as always, thank you. And it's been fun. Twitch.tv/theadapting, Twitter.com/adapting, YouTube, just search adapting. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the SPL playoffs. I think they should be coming up right around after this. So stick around, watch the SPL playoffs for Phase 2, and we'll catch you guys soon at the start of Phase 3. Yeah.